Does anyone ever create the Patrick Swayze scene from Ghost? Does that come up a bit?
It always gets referenced.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not the first. We're all born artists. Give any 5-year-old pencils and paper and they'll create something wonderful without a second thought. But we grow up and art becomes intimidating. We want to give everyone permission to love art again. I'm George, the co-founder of Bluethumb, and I'm joined by my colleague Amy. Welcome to the Art in My Home podcast, where we explore the stories behind the art people have in their homes.
At Bluethumb, we're dedicated to creating a welcoming home for Australian artists and are making it our mission to find perfect homes for artwork. Today's guest is AFL player and potter Sam Naismith. Sam made his debut in the AFL in 2014 at the Sydney Swans before signing with Port Melbourne VFL club in 2022. Today, Sam plays for the Richmond Tigers and also has his own pottery studio, Lucklove Studio. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Sam, you played up in Sydney and then you came down here and you've played in the VFL and now you're back at Richmond in the AFL.
Yeah, so, spent a fair bit of time in Sydney. It was, every kid's dream sort of, to play football growing up and made my way there from a small town in Gunnedah. And then 10 years later, I ended up in Melbourne. I've had a fair few sort of history of injuries and setbacks that have sort of led me to sort of try and develop off field. Recently I've just sort of, started my art journey of, having my own studio and also, playing for Richmond Footy Club. It's been a sort of, whirlwind 12 months, but it's led me here now.
Yeah, sounds it. And how's the transition going from VFL back to AFL for you?
It's quite demanding what AFL requires of you, and sort of still to play good VFL football, you still need to have that dedication and,
of course,
the training and all your diet and your sleep and whatnot. So it's definitely a step above, but it's sort of I was doing it for 10 years at Sydney, so I kind of knew what to expect really.
Sure.
And obviously you're here because you're also big into art and a potter yourself. Are there any transferable skills between AFL footy and pottery? Yeah,
it's actually quite interesting. It's I've got a few mates in Sydney who also play football, and we had this community in Tamarama, like just next to Bondi in Sydney, and it was footballers who were hanging around this pottery shed, and we all sort of got to love it, and we were all quite good just because we were able to listen to instruction, had hand-eye coordination.
Sure.
And it's very a tactile sort of medium, working with clay and working with footballs and, touch and feel and stuff like that. It's sort of, it goes hand in hand with pottery. So, it's quite transferable. You notice because I also teach as well, people who are in sort of working with their hands daily through their work life, they can quite easily transfer those skills across to pottery. So it's quite funny when I teach someone who's usually it's a female-dominated industry, the pottery world, and if someone wants to bring their partner to date night and their partner's a carpenter or a builder or something, they're quite good.
Of course, yeah.
And it's quite something that they probably wouldn't know about themselves, which sort of the tactile sort of nature of using your hands during the day, it's sort of very transferable.
Yeah, I've never thought about the hand-eye sort of coordination that's required in kind of being a professional, athlete versus a similar thing for being an artist.
Yeah.
Right. Especially, I can think of landscape and with pottery too. So yeah, that's super interesting. So have you taught any other AFL players and started them on their pottery journey?
Yeah, so I've taken a few mates of mine for classes and whatnot, and they absolutely love it. I've organised with the Richmond Footy Club we're taking all the development boys, all the young guys. It's going to be part of their sort of introduction year to doing stuff outside of football, where it's they do cooking and they do all these life skills stuff. I'm going to run a pottery class for them all, and I'm also opening it up for some of the players and their partners to, if they want to do it for a night off, have a few glasses of wine while they do it, create a bit of fun. I reckon they're all going to enjoy it. They've all told me that they're keen to do it too.
Absolutely.
At those wine nights, does anyone ever create the Patrick Swayze scene from Ghost? Does that come up a bit?
It always gets referenced. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not the first. Okay.
We did some of the Bluethumb staff actually did a pottery class, and what I really liked about it was that you have to switch off from your phone and everything. You kind of just sat there with the clay, kind of focusing on that, and I think that's quite nice probably for you as well, like just that switch off moment where that's all you can focus on is just building your creations kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's a mindfulness exercise, and that's what sort of drew me into it. I had a fair bit of off-field things going on in my life, which sort of led me to sort of a pretty stressed environment, and I was dealing with a lot of things mentally, and I used pottery as a bit of an escape because once you're working with the clay, demands a lot of attention, and as soon as you switch off, it'll just, flop over.
Yeah.
So using it as a mindfulness tool and sort of like explaining that to people who want to try it as a mindfulness tool, it's helped me so much, and that's probably what's got me into teaching it, because I want other people to know, like, if you're struggling or stressed or whatnot, just
how good it is for you.
Have a go. And it teaches you to slow down a little bit as well.
Oh, totally.
And at the end of the day, if it falls over, it's just dirt.
Yeah.
Try again.
Yeah, exactly. Love that. That's a great thought. Okay, well, what we want to know about is the art in your home, Sam. So could you tell us about your home? What's maybe the decor, theme, mood of it that you're trying to achieve? Yeah,
so I think that, well, for me, when someone walks into my home, I want it to sort of be a reflection of me and who I am and what I'm about. It's not about sort of expensive price tags. It's not about sort of, real famous artists. I've got a lot of things in my home that are made by some of my friends, because in the art industry you make all these new friendships and connections that I've got a mate who's a really good photographer, and I've asked him to make me a nice big print for above my couch. My cousin had painted me a really cool sort of painting for my birthday last year, which I love. A bit of like music sort of, really rare sort of like band photos.
Oh, beautiful, yeah.
And also like heaps of pottery. That's definitely the medium that I'm drawn to, yeah.
What band photos specifically?
I've got a really old school Foo Fighters portrait, and I think it was back in the 90s, and they're all just smoking cigarettes, drinking Coca-Cola, and I actually tried to sort of like search it on the internet to try and bring it in and show you, but I can't find it. I searched a fair bit for it, and
wow.
it must be pretty sort of
very unique. Yeah.
So it's the sort of, is it Big Me? I reckon that was the first single I heard.
Yeah, it was around that
early
time.
days.
Yeah.
Cool.
So real old.
Sweet.
Can you recall when you kind of first fell in love with art and the pottery scene and all that, kind of what's kick-started your kind of journey?
Well, growing up, I was quite artistic. I used to draw and make a few different things. I've covered myself in tattoos, which I find that's sort of like an expressive way of showing art and whatnot. I think that back in 2020 or 2021, I made friends with a guy, Ryan Durr. He was my pottery teacher back in Sydney, and I just spent some time at his pottery shed, and it was throughout the time where I had an ACL injury and I was recovering from that. And what happened was I just sort of spent some time there and just like got to meet new people. And the community, that little pottery shed overlooking the water in Tamarama, it was such a community with such positive energy and vibes. And the people I was able to meet from different sort of industries, the community there was just so uplifting. And it was at a time where I really needed that. And I think that seeing different art coming in, coming out, and just being able to sort of like physically make something that no one else can replicate ever. It's sort of just, it drew me into that sort of, that industry, and I just, absolutely loved it.
And did you sort of, was your aim to replicate that feel with Lucklove down here? community?
Yeah, well, I think that what I wanted to do was create for myself first and foremost, and also I was trying to make it my job as well, which is, as an artist, it's quite hard to sort of monetize, and also putting a price on what you make. Like for me, it's priceless, but I love just making for my friends and family. But to put a price tag on it, it's quite tricky. But I think that my goal at the end of sort of Lucklove, I would rather teach,
Sure.
because I want to let other people experience what I experienced with, finding this, which has made such a difference to my life.
Sure. And I guess that's great because eventually, like, post-football, that's probably something that you can definitely, like, prosper with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to make massive amounts of pieces. I don't want to, have anything that's production line with, casting and replicating the exact same thing all the time. I try and make a bit of an effort to sort of make one thing not like the last one I made. So every boot that I make, they're all numbered. They're not going to be replicated ever again. And same with the chessboards. They're also unique because I go to a timber mill and get different cuts of timber to actually make the wood as well.
And can we talk about the boots?
Can we talk about the
Sam's
boot?
brought in an amazing black cowboy boot here, which is number 13.
Number 13, yeah. So I was making these boots and I tried a little bit of a different sort of technique with this one. And I fell in love with it. And I'm not selling it, it's mine. And I got to the point where I was like making all these boots and I was realising, I actually don't have one for myself. I keep on, giving them to friends or, selling them or whatnot. And I think that having one for myself, number 13, it's quite of a, unlucky number 13, but it's nice black, all black boot.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I try and sort of, keep it a bit different every time I make it.
How many boots do you have at your house? Do you have a big Potter boot case for
No,
these?
I don't. I should. I've pretty much sold all my boots that I've made. Yeah, and they're all like numbered. I've got a list of like who owns them and whatnot. And at the end of this year, I'm going to do a big gallery of an assortment of 10 boots, and I'm just going to keep doing that every year, just 10 boots a year, because the time that it takes to actually make these, and if I'm rushing them, the care isn't going to be there, and I want that to sort of reflect in the boot. So they're all just going to get better every year as I refine the craft, and it's more of an excuse to get all my friends and family in one big room at the same time of the year, and hopefully just have a bit of a party.
Yeah. And about how many hours might this one have taken, Sam?
With the drying and everything about pottery, it's so fragile with having other pieces of the boot dry at different times. And I don't have a kiln at my studio as well, so I use another one at a studio that I used to work at. It would probably take maybe 15 hours.
Yeah, sure.
But that's, actual work time, not as much. But to have it dried, that takes a couple of weeks.
Of course. Then you got to glaze it.
But the detail of trying to, work it and get everything going and then cover it and then try again. And then, but a lot of it's trial and error.
I was going to say, was there many initial disasters when you were trying this design?
Yeah, absolutely. And just sort of like making a boot and spending, 8 or 9 hours on it, having it dried, and then it dries too quick, and then it splits down the middle, and you can't use it at all. But in saying that, it teaches you patience. At the end of the day, as I said, it's just dirt, so you can repurpose it. I've actually got a boot that's split straight down the middle, and I've just got it on my shelf just next to sort of, where I work, and it's just sort of like a reminder of how fragile they can be, and just not to dwell over it, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. No, it's such an interesting design.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, why cowboy boot?
Well, yeah, They're vases. So I was
Yeah.
actually trying to bring in some flowers, but the flower shop that I'd normally go to was closed.
Gosh, that's all right. I could see you could fill it up with water. But
Yeah.
what kind of drew you to doing a cowboy boot, or just like the idea, just like the design of it?
I think it's very reflective of my personality. I love sort of, country. I'm from the country.
Yeah, sure.
I like that style. It's very American.
Yes.
Southern, like Texas, sort of, Nashville vibes. I think that it suits my house as well.
Yeah, that's important.
So I think that, I've found my little niche, and I just love to sort of, perfect that.
Cool. Well, actually, back on your house. So with collecting art in your house, do you ever sort of look for, just browse around, look for art that you want to buy, think of a space in your house, or do you just sort of find the art in there organically as you go about?
Yeah, usually I just find it organically.
Yeah.
I don't go out looking for, different pieces or whatnot. I like to sort of, if a friend gives me some of their work, then I'd gladly just, put that on show. But personally, I'd like to sort of need the art for a certain, like I'm not going to just pick something willy-nilly and, rush into something because it's, I don't know.
You've got
I
a
like,
wall.
yeah. I like sort of, planning it, and it has to go with my furniture and all the other art in my house as well.
True.
So was it a big move? Was there a lot of art to bring down?
There wasn't too much. I'm actually currently in the process of moving into a new place over the next few weeks, and I've actually planned to sort of find some more artwork, and I've got some in mind, which is pretty cool.
Fantastic.
Actually, this is a broader question, but if money was no object, if you could have any piece of art in the world, from anyone, is there anything you would want?
It's maybe a chair from Gaetano Pesci.
All right, I don't know who that is, but I assume it's
I like that.
very
We haven't
nice.
had that yet. Yeah.
Just sort of, real weird sort of like chair.
And tell me about that. Is that
Or maybe one of his vases. They're
Very
pretty cool.
nice. Yeah. Because you're probably more
Kind
drawn.
of like an acrylic-y, waxy sort of, medium, and it's real bizarre sort of, kind of like working with clay, but it's very sharp and jagged.
fantastic? What's it actually made out of?
I don't know. I think it's kind of like a resiny sort of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, I'm going to Google that.
Yeah.
Do you have any artists that are on your radar that you kind of think, oh, I'd like to maybe get a piece from them in the future?
Yeah,
Besides, your
I love
chairman.
David Shrigley.
Yes, I love David Shrigley
Yeah.
too.
So all these sort of animal works, I love them. There's a few artists that I follow on social media, and I want to get the name right. I think it's Benny Montero.
No, I haven't heard of him.
He just does cartoon drawings and stuff like that. I got a tattoo.
Oh,
Of
really?
his just on my ankle.
Oh, cool.
Just because I love the art that much.
Sure.
Does he know?
Yeah, well, I think I DM'd him ages ago to see if I can get it, and
And he was like, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he gave me the thumbs up.
Yeah. I think they love that when artists
I'm
love
sure,
that. Yeah.
Well, I think that everyone who, if you want someone's work, you
It's a compliment.
ask. Yeah, of course.
Massive compliment. Forever.
Yeah, and I probably would love to get a Jakey Pedro, big sort of mural.
Oh, I know him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does in cowboy boots, kind of in the cowboy hats. Yeah.
It's very sort of bright
Yes.
colours. He lives in Bondi.
Yes.
I've seen him a couple of times. He's unreal. He's so good.
I think he's very up and coming on the
Yeah,
Australian art scene at the
Yeah.
moment. Yeah.
Where would the mural go?
I reckon it'd be a big statement piece, depending on what my house looks like in the layout. But I'd love to have it sort of front and center.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's bright colours. I want it to be
Bit
energy.
in your face. Yeah.
Bit in your face, sort of like controls the vibe of when you walk into the house. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
100%. I've really wanted to do that in lounge area, and I know there's no chance in hell my partner would allow it.
Yeah.
I would love it.
Was the mural outside of the gallery suffice, George?
That was the compromise. We've got a
We would do it
nice
at the
big two-story
gallery.
mural here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
From the artists we like.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
So we got that instead. Yeah.
Well, we like to talk about in Melbourne the art scene here, but have you really noticed the difference between the Sydney art scene and the Melbourne art scene? And
Yeah, I think that I don't want anyone to come after me for this.
we won't say anything.
Sounds controversial.
But I think that Sydney's art scene compared to Melbourne's art scene, it's very sort of... Melbourne's more about the art
Yep.
and about sort of, what it actually is, rather than Sydney's a lot about who it is and the price tag.
Of course, yeah.
Which,
Heard it here first.
well, I think that Melbourne as a city is a bit more cultured in the sense of they care more about, what it actually means,
Yeah, for
rather
sure.
than sort of, pretending and then, saying, oh, I've got this and I don't really know what it's about or
Yeah.
whatnot.
There's a bit of like, I want that because someone else has got it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
I'm, trying to compare like yourself to, other people who have got art in their house.
Exactly.
It's all a competition.
yeah, we get a bit stale as well, seeing the
Yeah.
same things all the time.
Yeah. And that's a difference thing between Melbourne and Sydney at the moment, because even the live music, bars, cafes, restaurants, it's very sort of hipster, very sort of up and coming. It's very traditional, whereas Sydney's, there's been a big culture war between the two cities for a long time, and sort of seeing it firsthand, it's pretty obvious.
And you would have lived through it. It felt to me, years ago I played in bands, and it felt to me like the Sydney music scene used to be amazing when I was very young, and it just had this big decline.
Yeah.
And there's just so few places to play and so few places to find like smaller bands playing live. And I'm too old to go out properly now. But is it still the same in Sydney? Has it come back a bit?
As soon as the cross died, pretty much live music and like lockout laws and all that, they pretty much curbed the, being able to go out and, see a live band. And all these young bands and music acts coming from Melbourne, they're overshadowing anyone that's coming out of Sydney just because the opportunity to go and see a live band past 11 o'clock at night, it's started to come back now a little bit, but historically, like the Lansdowne Hotel and all these bars that used to be big sort of pub rock sort of places, they've lost all their identity.
Yeah. Sad, isn't it? Well, good for Melbourne though.
Still okay here, it sounds. I once stood behind Richo at a Strokes show. And I tell you what, I liked Richo, but I didn't like standing behind him.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of hate at shows?
Yeah,
You're very tall.
I was at the Foo Fighters just before Christmas, and like standing in the crowd, everyone's at the same level. Then if I stand in front of you, I'm just so sorry. You're not going to be able to see me.
Got a lot of size.
Yeah,
Get to the side.
you just get pushed further and further back. It's like, you just got to cop it. Yeah.
So I guess a good question to ask you, Sam, was kind of what was the motivation behind opening your own pottery studio? Just coming from, doing it as a hobby to actually having a space.
Yeah, well, I wanted to sort of... I was out of the AFL system. I found myself on the outer, and I wanted to sort of start my next phase of what I wanted to do for, my career. And I wanted to do pottery. I was sort of iffing and, toing and froing with it, with the idea, and I just decided, no, I'm going to do it. And then, decided to sort of work out of my studio, because I was working out of my studio anyway, in my garage, and I was like, why don't I just, label it, chuck a few things up on Instagram, see if anyone likes it, and people were loving it. And I started my website. I had to come up with a name and a stamp, and I decided on Lucklove, because it's all handmade.
Yeah.
I had the tattoos before I had the,
Yeah.
had the name.
You got them after,
And then, it's sort of, driven me to this point where it's made sense to sort of, try and sell my art, and not necessarily for the money. It's more the fact that I'm creating something that someone else wants to actually have in their house, which, to me, it's sort of so powerful. And I want to be able to do that forever.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
How many people can it fit on those bigger nights? Because we could send Bluethumb there.
I would love a bigger space to be able to sort of, do groups of maybe 10 or so people. I don't want to do any more because it shouldn't be commercial. I feel that what drew me into pottery was 4 wheels, 4 or 5 wheels in a studio in Tamarama, and it was very sort of close. It was all about, quite intimate. You're all sort of, sharing a laugh. The people that you're doing it with are generally, 3 of your close mates. And you can sort of go on this sort of mindfulness, real slow learning, and having someone that's very patient to teach you that's what helped me. And it teaches you so many different things other than just the pottery. And I want to be able to share that and do that. Whereas if there's more people in the room and there's strangers, and maybe you might feel a little bit embarrassed if you're not as good as the person next to you, and there's, that's not what it's all about. So I think that having a bit more of a bigger studio than what I've actually got, because I've only got 1 wheel, and that's just me making stuff. And I do one-on-one sort of lessons where I can sort of, be hands-on. But the goal is to probably make it a bit bigger and make it a bit more of a, maybe have a little bar there, have a bit of a space for people to hold their own galleries, or if someone wants to come in and just use the studio in their own time, or maybe even have live music, maybe one night. That's probably the goal.
Yeah, great.
Sounds awesome. And so for this year, do you have a vision board? Do you have some plans for Lucklove that you want to get done?
So it's quite hard at the moment with, trying to balance the football schedule with the pottery, because it means that I've got to really focus on the football. And then if I don't focus on the pottery, and if I want to make something, it's quite rushed. And then on the flip side, if I don't focus on the football, then I'm not going to perform well. So I'm focusing more on the football side of things right now, with a goal of having my exhibition at the end of the year. So that way it still gives me a bit of a goal, but I'm not going to be rushing, my work. I can actually take it quite slow. And I think my work's going to reflect that, which will be good.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the beautiful thing about pottery is you can probably do it at the age of 90, so you've got another 50 years or so to keep working on the craft. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's sort of, the beauty of it. Hopefully if I don't bang up my fingers too much. But that's, I just want to keep learning. I'm not the best at it. I want to try and keep learning and making mistakes. And it's also quite good for my approach to football. You've got to make mistakes to learn from them. So, it's working hand in hand at the moment. I've had to pull down my website at the moment, just because once I sort of did a few things with sort of, quite making it, a bit of a splash in sort of the industry, it's meant that people had gone on and ordered, and I don't have the time at the moment, so I just want to be respectful of the people that want it. So and I don't want to rush it, because then my work suffers.
Yeah, sure.
And that's at the end of the day, making money out of it isn't what I'm wanting to do. It's about actually making the art.
And how would you take? Do you take like commissions on? Or?
Yeah. Usually it's made to order. I've got a few main things that I make. My main two are my chess sets, and my boots.
Yeah.
And then I can make plates, bowls, cups. I do coffee cups, takeaways, and whatnot. So my passion is actually the more detailed cowboy boots and the chess sets, which I love just making them for friends and family. It's been great. And
they're a bit more sculptural as well.
Yeah, it takes a bit more sort of my personality, which comes out them, because at the end of the day, if you're making a bowl, it's like, who made this?
Yeah, sure.
Whereas I think that hopefully down the track,
that's your signature.
Yeah, and I haven't seen too many people make them at all, and I just want to just try and stamp my identity on it. Really.
Yeah, could you do like a Western guitar And
Whoa, can you
I'm
imagine?
just thinking. I was in Texas last year,
Yeah.
and just thinking that that'd go very nicely with the boots.
Yeah, no, it could be.
Expand on the range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've also thought about doing, cowboy hats,
Yeah, for sure.
like Kubras and
Yeah.
and whatnot. So that'd be quite fun to sort of play around with them. Clay is quite heavy
Yes.
too, and if you make something too big, it'll be quite heavy. But also, if it's a statement piece,
Absolutely.
you're not going to be moving it too.
No. Well,
Yeah.
you hope not. Anyway.
Awesome. And so when Lucklove is back up and running, like so obviously we've got the site down on
Yep.
purpose. How can people find it? What sort of is the best way through the Instagram or the URL? Or?
Yeah. So the best way to find it is through the Instagram, and that's Lucklove Studio. It's been a slow burn up until sort of now. Just trying to put stuff out there that I've made. I've made a few really cool sort of like reels about making the boots and like designing them. I did one boot in the style of a Simpsons episode.
Oh, really?
I saw that. Yeah, when he's in the desert.
Yeah. So and I was like, yes, sweet. Like I'll put that stamp on it. It's also something that I'm quite sort of I love the Simpsons, and it was quite fun sort of designing that. And I think that as I go, I'm just going to keep plugging away with stuff that I've made on there, and every now and then I might put something up to say, hey, does anyone want to buy it?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff that's on there is stuff that's just made for a bit of fun. Because the website was mainly the buy to mate. Yeah.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Sam.
It's
been great to chat.
I love
Yeah.
the pieces you've brought in as well. This has been great.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much.
Cool.